If you want to witness the absolute, raw, violent power of planet Earth, you must travel to the freezing waters of the North Atlantic Ocean. Imagine standing on a massive, empty beach, but the sand beneath your heavy leather boots is not yellow. It is pitch black. It is dark, crushed volcanic glass. You look out at the crashing, freezing white ocean waves. You look behind you, and you see a massive, towering wall of solid, bright blue ice. It is a gigantic glacier, thousands of feet thick, slowly crushing the black rock beneath it. And suddenly, you feel the dark ground violently shaking. Just a few miles away, a massive, jagged mountain splits wide open. A towering, explosive fountain of boiling, glowing red lava shoots high into the dark gray sky. Thick, suffocating clouds of toxic black ash and white steam roll across the freezing ice. Welcome to the edge of the Arctic Circle. Welcome to Iceland, the legendary land of fire and ice. For millions of global tourists, this incredible island is the ultimate photography destination. They drive expensive white rental cars along the paved coastal roads. They hold modern digital cameras, taking beautiful pictures of the roaring, massive waterfalls and the quiet, glowing blue ice caves. But for the tough, resilient Nordic people who actually live here year-round, this spectacular landscape is not a theme park. It is a beautiful, terrifying, and completely unpredictable monster. To understand how human beings survive on an island that is constantly trying to tear itself apart, you must first look at the freezing, violent ocean. Because on an island made almost entirely of sharp, black volcanic rock and thick blue ice, you cannot easily grow large green fields of wheat or vegetables. For over 1,000 years, the survival of the Icelandic people has depended entirely on what they can pull out of the dark, freezing sea. If you wake up in the freezing, dark early morning in a small coastal village, you will see the true heartbeat of the Icelandic economy. A rugged, blue-eyed local fisherman, wearing a thick, heavy yellow rubber rain jacket and thick waterproof boots, steps onto a heavy metal fishing boat. He sails directly into the massive, terrifying, violent gray waves of the North Atlantic. The freezing salt water constantly crashes over the metal deck of the ship. He uses heavy, thick nylon nets to pull massive, incredible treasures out of the dark water. Giant, heavy, wet, silver Atlantic cod. Massive, flat halibut. When the heavy wooden boats return to the small concrete harbor, the work is incredibly fast and brutal. Inside the freezing, wet metal processing factories, strong men and women use sharp, thin silver knives to perfectly and quickly cut the giant silver fish. But the traditional way of preserving this food is an ancient, spectacular sight. If you drive along the rocky coastline, you will see massive, towering wooden racks standing in the freezing wind. Hanging from these wooden poles are thousands upon thousands of silver fish swaying in the cold air. They do not use salt. They do not use fire. They simply let the brutal, freezing, salty ocean wind dry the fish until it is as hard as a solid piece of yellow wood. This traditional dried fish, called harðfiskur, is packed with massive amounts of pure protein. A local fisherman will tear a piece of the hard yellow fish with his hands, spread thick white butter on it, and eat it for intense energy in the freezing cold. It is the taste of the brutal ocean wind itself. But fishing is only half of the survival story. To live in Iceland, you must learn to harness the violent fire burning deep underground. This island sits directly on top of the mid-Atlantic ridge, where the massive North American and Eurasian tectonic plates are physically pulling apart. The ground is literally boiling. If you walk across a green, mossy valley, you will suddenly see massive pillars of thick, boiling white steam shooting violently out of the dirt. These are the famous geysers. Puddles of thick, bubbling gray mud pop and explode like boiling soup. In the past, this geothermal activity was terrifying. But today, the Icelandic people have turned this volcanic fire into a modern miracle. They have built massive, futuristic silver metal pipelines stretching across the dark volcanic rock. They drill deep into the earth, capturing the boiling hot white steam and the superheated underground water. They use this violent volcanic energy to generate massive amounts of clean, free electricity and to pump boiling hot water directly into the metal radiators of every single home. When an Icelandic family sits inside their warm, cozy wooden house during a terrifying, freezing winter blizzard, the heat keeping them alive is coming directly from the boiling magma chambers of an active volcano. They have literally tamed the fire of the earth. But there is one thing they cannot tame: the extreme psychological terror of the Arctic winter. Because Iceland sits so far north on the globe, the changing of the seasons is absolute and extreme. During the summer, the bright yellow sun never actually sets. It dips near the horizon, creating a beautiful, endless golden hour that lasts all night. You can read a paper book outside at 2 in the morning in perfect bright daylight. But when the brutal winter arrives, the island plunges into total, suffocating darkness. For months, the sun barely rises above the jagged mountain peaks. The island experiences only 3 or 4 hours of weak, grey twilight before the pitch-black night returns. The winter wind is incredibly violent. It howls across the treeless, flat black plains, picking up millions of tiny white snowflakes and creating blinding, lethal whiteout conditions. If you drive a small car into this storm, you will instantly freeze to death. To survive this, the local people have built the ultimate winter machines. They call them super jeeps. These are massive, heavy metal 4x4 trucks, modified with absolutely gigantic, incredibly wide, thick, black rubber tires. When the snow is deep and the roads completely disappear, a skilled local driver will lower the air pressure in these massive black tires. The heavy truck literally floats on top of the deep, soft white snow, climbing straight up the sides of the frozen blue glaciers in the pitch-black night. It is the only way to travel across the frozen wasteland. And in the middle of this dark, freezing winter, the sky puts on the greatest visual show on planet Earth: the aurora borealis, the northern lights. If you stand outside in the freezing, absolute silence, far away from any yellow city lights, you will see a massive glowing ribbon of bright, neon green and purple light dancing silently across the dark, black sky. It moves like a living, glowing snake, perfectly reflecting on the calm, dark surface of the freezing lakes. It is a sight so incredibly beautiful, it makes you forget that your fingers are freezing inside your thick leather gloves. During these long, dark winter months, the Icelandic people turn inward. They do not fight the darkness. They embrace it. They sit inside their warm homes, wearing thick, beautiful, hand-woven wool sweaters called lopapeysa, made from the heavy wool of the tough Icelandic sheep. They drink hot, dark black coffee. They light warm yellow candles. And they read. Iceland has one of the highest literacy rates in the entire world. In the freezing dark, they write books. They play beautiful acoustic music. And they tell ancient, violent saga stories of legendary Viking warriors who sailed across the dark ocean 1,000 years ago. This deep, rich culture is the mental armor that protects them from the isolating, depressing dark of the winter. But today, this spectacular, isolated island is changing faster than ever before. The massive, ancient blue glaciers, the very things that give Iceland its name, are melting at a terrifying, catastrophic rate due to global climate change. Giant blue ice caves are collapsing. Massive rivers of freezing meltwater are violently washing away the grey concrete bridges and the paved roads. At the same time, the massive explosion of global tourism has completely altered the quiet local villages. Millions of foreigners crowd the narrow streets of the capital city, Reykjavik. The traditional quiet way of life is being replaced by expensive modern hotels, loud tour buses, and crowded gift shops. For the young Icelandic teenagers holding glowing digital smartphones, the world feels very small. Many young people move away from the isolated, freezing fishing villages. They travel to modern universities in Europe or the United States, seeking loud cities and warm beaches. But there is a strange, powerful magnetic pull to this violent island. Many of them eventually return. Because when you are born on a land that breathes fire and sleeps under blue ice, normal, flat, quiet cities feel incredibly boring. To live in Iceland is to live with a profound, terrifying respect for nature. It is understanding that the dark ground you walk on could explode at any moment. It is the smell of salty ocean fish and the sharp, burning smell of yellow sulfur gas. It is the feeling of freezing wind cutting your face and the feeling of boiling hot, blue volcanic water warming your bones. We build massive concrete walls and digital screens to convince ourselves that we are the masters of this planet. But when you stand on a black sand beach, watching a towering blue glacier slowly slide into a violently erupting red volcano, you realize that we are just tiny, fragile passengers. And on this incredible, terrifying, beautiful island, nature is the absolute, undisputed king.